Hello and welcome to Three Sisters, One Heart podcast. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Heather.
We're really excited because today we are going to do our book club review of The Four Winds by Kristin Hannah. But before we get into it, we're going to go ahead and roll right into our trials and triumphs of this week. I'm speaking, so I'll go first.
Okay.
So this past week, my AC went out.
Yeah.
And I found this coupon and it was supposed to be like a $59 like tune-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then they get there and next thing you know it's $89 because they've done a diagnostic and you know it could cost me a couple $1,000s what I need to have fixed on it. And if I'm gonna do that, I might as well buy a whole new unit. And
no big deal.
My unit is only about 6 years old, which is it's not a baby.
It should last longer
Right, but
than
it
that,
should,
though.
yeah, it should still be kicking.
So I ended up calling the people we bought it through, and we have like parts
It feels
warranty.
like you just did that.
I know,
Yeah.
time flies.
Yeah.
But they're gonna come, and it's looking like $1,000 off the bat. But hopefully, like $1,000 is better than $3,000.
Yeah.
But to say that the money stress is like real, you know.
And it's like, the first week that we actually need it.
I know.
That's
Florida
it's cooling
life.
down again, though. It
Is
is
it?
cooling
Oh
down
yeah,
again.
well yeah, for the through the weekend.
Yeah.
It's supposed to start cooling down.
Good to know. Because I'm not loving this heat. It's
I
not
like
my favorite.
it. I don't like it in my house with no AC, all stuffy.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
What do you say? You like it or no? Baby's gonna drool.
Mine, I almost said I didn't have one, but I do.
No.
I was like,
So, I clearly jinxed myself because I always say that my kids, like, we just never go to the ER. They're careful kids. They've never broken anything, had accidents, anything like that. Until. And it's a doozy. I feel super, super guilty because I should have been right there with her. But Aubriana was... Where are you going? Aubriana was building her... She does this craft where she, like, is, like, building her own dollhouse.
She's been
And
working on it for weeks
Yeah.
now.
Where she uses foam board and she's, like, building it and all kinds of fun stuff.
Making furniture for it.
So
Very cool.
she's used the X-Acto knife a million times before. Uh-oh. She's used the X-Acto knife like a million times before. Never had any problems. Was always super, super careful.
Right.
And so I got more relaxed than I should have. And lo and behold, she asked if she could use it. I remind her, make sure you're always careful, away from yourself, yada, yada, yada. And I was actually going in to, like, help her. And she got started. And so she ended up, I'm not exactly sure even how she was doing it, but she nicked her wrist in the worst possible spot with an X-Acto knife. So
Yeah.
my house looked like an absolute crime scene. Honestly, for the size of the cut, you would think
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's real little.
it's only this little big.
Yeah.
But she did need a couple of stitches because it was pretty deep. So scared the crap out of me. It was the first experience I've had
Yeah, that's
needing
scary.
to react quickly or do anything. I've got Zoe freaking out because she thinks her sister's dying and saying her final goodbyes and I'm sorry for being mean to you. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh
goodness.
my gosh, I can't do this right now. And then you got Aubriana like begging to go to sleep. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Oh God.
No. And so once we got to the hospital, they were able to slow the bleeding, but they couldn't get it to stop until the stitches were actually in. And it was like, sorry, it's kind of graphic and gross. I didn't really mean to, but it was intense.
Yeah.
It would not have stopped without the stitches. So I'm glad that we did immediately go.
So did you just try to butterfly bandage it or something?
Right, yeah. Like, I'm not usually one to try to fix things on my own, but Ben is.
Yeah, I was gonna say not to sound stereotypical, but like
Because that's how his dad did growing up.
That's
He
how my
actually,
dad did.
after I dropped off Zoe, because COVID, you can only have so many people in the hospital, and I was not about to be trying to have a fight about how many people and all that
Right.
kind of
Trying
stuff.
to get her
let you
taken
take
care of.
I didn't know, and in my head, it made sense. And
It
plus,
was
Oh no,
better
it
for her
definitely
not to
makes
be
sense.
there.
It
Yeah.
was better for her not to be around, but
but
in
Ben's
that
like,
case.
bring her by so I can see her. Like, he didn't believe And so
He's
I
like,
did,
"Wait a
and
second,
he's like,
wait a second."
that's a lot of blood. You need to get her to the hospital. I know. I'm trying. So, but she's fine. She's got this whole elaborate story she's going to tell everybody at school to make it sound more interesting than crafting.
God.
And so, yeah.
She was fighting a dragon. And
She always says that she was fighting a bear, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, she was fighting
So-
a bear. The bear won a little bit this time.
A little bit. So I don't even mean to laugh. It's almost one of those, like, you have to laugh or you're going to cry.
Well, it was very scary and stressful.
yeah.
So
I learned my
there's
lesson.
no laughing when it happened.
Yeah, I just got too relaxed. That you can never be too careful. I mean, adults cut themselves all the time, so who's to say that it couldn't have happened, even if I were right there.
I have had many craft
Yeah.
accidents. My
but
God,
she
so many.
handled stitches like a champ. Like she was
Didn't
pretty.
take 6 people to hold her down?
No, they actually
Man.
had several people come in the room to help, and they ended up leaving because they're like, "This kid's fine."
It took 6 people to hold Jack down.
No,
But
none of
his
that.
stitches was literally right
Right,
in
and
his
it's
face.
that's more
Yeah.
intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. She's just staring. See that every time I have my hair in a bun and it moves, she watches it. Her eyes follow.
So funny.
Crazy. What about you? What was rough for you this week?
I don't really have anything.
That's always amazing.
All right.
Wasn't a bad week. I mean, kids are doing their normal kid crap, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just kids. So,
Yeah. Did you give mommy a hard time?
no, she's pretty easy still. All she needs is boob and a butt change, and she's pretty content.
Pretty easy.
Awesome.
Well, so let's get into it.
All
I
right.
don't even know really how to start this, so I'll let you kind of.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and assume that most of you kind of read the book and followed along. The book takes place in the 30s during the Dust Bowl, and it kind of it's interesting because the book starts off being narrated by one woman, Elsa is her name. It's her perspective, but later on in the book, it starts to have 2 narrators. After Elsa has her daughter Loretta, and Loretta becomes around 12, then she is also narrating bits. It's kind of cool because what I liked about that aspect is that, you know, I have a 13-year-old.
Yes.
And-
That's what I had in my notes. Is
Oh
that I
my
resonated
gosh.
so much
So hard.
with that relationship and how much Loretta is just has such disdain and anger
Yeah, for her parent.
for her mom.
For her mom
Yeah.
specifically, yeah.
And it's like, especially in that you see that it's not that way with dad. It's that dad can do no wrong. I mean,
Yes.
until he does.
Oh,
And
but
she-
even then, it takes a long time.
But I was like, it was almost kind of nice to kind of see it come full circle. It was
Yeah.
hopeful.
Yeah.
Like I know that there's going to be a day that she likes me again, and it's okay that she doesn't like me right now because I'm a parent and not a friend. But it's so hard.
Yeah.
Like knowing your kids. I can't even deal.
Look, she's content. Don't judge.
She's going to town.
She's chewing on my finger.
But yeah, so I found a lot of connections and with
Me
my
too.
kids and to Elsa's children and Loretta.
Also, just like, so the book starts off, and Elsa is a young 20-something, and she's a woman in the 1930s. She's born to a fairly prominent family in her town, and she is like has this feeling of being, you know, unseen and
Kind of
worthless.
the outcast of the family.
Yeah, kind of like an outcast or like a, you
Like
know,
an outcast.
An outcast.
Yeah. Like
Being-
the black sheep.
like
yeah.
that's the word. Kind of like the black sheep, except for she hasn't done anything wrong. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that in the beginning of the book, and really throughout, I find throughout most of the book, you're just like waiting for her to believe in herself.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was a little. So are we going like from start to finish, or are we kind of jumping around depending on how it goes?
I mean, if everybody's read the book,
We'll try to start to finish.
Well, I just
kind of going over things.
like the fact that like you kept waiting for her to believe in herself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she never really does. Like,
and
she
you know,
finds it in
through
another
everything.
somebody else. It's always. I don't know if I'm, like, I feel like I'm saying too much.
Well, it's like,
Like, I
no,
feel like
you're
I'm,
not
like,
saying too much. You're not
I
saying
feel like
too
it's like
much.
spoiler alert,
No,
and I
no,
forget that
no.
the concept is that people have read the book as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. No, but I agree with you. It's like, you know, the whole time you're reading and you're like, girl, just like, you know, you're doing it though. Like you are
Making it happen.
You're doing
She's
everything
literally
you
like
can in
the
your
epitome
power.
of fake it till you make it.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And then like you even get to a point where she, you know, she finally starts like living and loving, and it's not for herself still. It's for her child.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's for her family, and that just, who hasn't had that kind of feeling? I mean, maybe some people don't struggle with it as much, but like as a woman, who hasn't felt just worthless? But you're like, you're constantly on the grind. You're constantly doing
Your
as much
worth
as you
is
can.
tied into other people.
Yes.
Rather than it being a personal experience, your worth is much more intricate.
Right.
And it really shouldn't be. I mean, I don't think, at least. You should have
No.
your own, like, with yourself.
I also liked that, you know, stepping back into the 30s, you know, a woman, especially in a prominent family, you know, she had a place.
Mhm.
And it's interesting that in the beginning of the book, she's in her early 20s, and like already she's like an old maid spinster.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she's not been married off. She's not particularly pretty or standard pretty.
It kind of ticked me off the way her family treated her. They literally
Oh,
made
yeah.
her out to be just this plain Jane. Nobody wants her. Like, tried to force into her head that she was not going to be anything.
My
and it
interpretation
angered me.
is that, like, if you saw, like, a movie of her, that she actually would be beautiful.
Oh yeah, of
Yes.
course.
Like, by
That's how I saw it,
typical
too.
standards.
I just
but,
see
like,
her as like quiet
family
and
was...
reserved.
Mhm.
And then that's why people think of her as like simple and plain,
Yes.
you know? But yeah, oh yeah, her family is just awful. Family is just awful to her, and it doesn't surprise me that, you know, she in the very beginning, when she like makes the dress for herself and she's like, I'm just doing this.
Yeah.
That was the first time I was like, yes.
Yes, girl,
Yes.
go,
Yes.
girl,
Yes.
yeah.
Do you, dude?
Mm-hmm. And it was just another, it was waves
I
of
know.
it.
Oh,
So-
well, and again, back to, like, you know, the standards for women then. Like, the fact of the matter is, like, she went out, and then she gets home, and, like, she gets struck by her father.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And her dress is taken, and they use the materials to make
Dresses
dresses
for
for
her
her
sisters.
sisters who are already married off. And it's just so disheartening and so sad that, like, literally her only escape is through escapism, is through books.
Yeah.
You know? Which I did love that aspect. They did bring up a couple of books. They brought up The Age of Innocence and Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure, which I thought was very interesting, because I have
Well-
not heard of that one.
I didn't make the connection that they were actual, like, written
They're real
books.
books.
Oh yeah.
But I did like that, like, history and social studies, any of that stuff has never been, like, something that I can really grasp onto. Like, taking, like, this happened in 1942.
Oh, I love history.
This, that, and the other. Right. Some people it clicks and it just, my brain doesn't operate that way. I've never been able to learn that way.
Mm-hmm.
But this was really cool to kind of learn about something that did happen in a more, I don't know if it's conventional. I'm not really sure. Like,
Because you're brought
more
you're brought
suitable for my
along-
brain way.
Yeah, because you're brought along with the protagonist.
Yeah.
And you're kind of seeing through their eyes, and it kind of gives you a little different perspective. That being said, I knew what the Dust Bowl was. I knew that nothing was growing and that it was dry and there was no rain. I had no clue how
Yeah.
like serious and severe it was that they were giving.
Yeah,
they
I
gave
didn't
the
either.
kids gas masks because
Yeah, I
the
had
dust
no
was
idea.
so strong. Or I really loved the passages because, of course, you know, when it's at its worst, it's just like dust storms and all the descriptions. Like the dust storm is so strong that they're going to the barn and
Do we
they
need
have
to
to
pause?
like use
No, I got
a
it.
rope
Yeah.
to get from the house to the barn because they literally can't
Yes,
see.
that was
They're
crazy.
being blasted at with. Imagine like how that must feel. And then of course then her son ended up getting sick with from the dust.
dirt
Dust
pneumonia.
pneumonia.
Dust pneumonia.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I've never ever heard of that either. Which I'm sure that's not technically, it's probably not even a pneumonia. It's probably just what they called it at the time.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was. I vaguely remember hearing something about, you know, all of these facts.
Yeah.
In school, but it was nothing to this degree.
Right.
That you realize. And maybe some of it was, like, exaggerated, but I don't think that you can exaggerate that much.
Yeah.
Like, nobody could even think of these horrible things.
Now, how about, so, like, when she you know, meets Rafi, and then she goes and she ends up getting pregnant. The way her family treats her, they literally just like shun her.
Mm-hmm.
They drop her off and they wash their hands of her, and I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that.
And it was so, in that moment, it was so clear how different it was.
Yep.
But for her and her sister, because I forget the sister's name, but the dad says something along the lines of, like, thinking that she's the one that's pregnant. Like, oh, finally. And then as soon as he realizes that it's Elsa, then it's a problem. And I get it, she wasn't married and all.
But
it just disowned. Like,
That's
straight up
crazy.
disowned.
And just, you know, as a woman, she was, you know, scandalous and unwed and Papa said, "Who ruined you?" Like, you know, she's ruined.
Goods.
She's ruined. Just because, you know, she found a little something to live for.
Yeah.
And that was so hard for me. And you know, even in this modern age, you hear about those women that don't have support and stuff, but like I don't know. We have such a close-knit family. I can't imagine. And the feeling of, like, you know, shamed. It's like, you're a good girl or you're a disgrace. There's
there is no in between, no gray area.
There's no in between there's still, I feel like that still happens in today's society to some extent, but like, especially then, it's like, you serve a purpose, and you either follow it or you're wrong.
Right,
you know?
I agree.
Oh, so awful.
Or I agree that it's awful.
And just the feeling, the feeling of, abandonment, you know, like throughout the whole book almost. Not the whole book, I won't say that, but like, you know, abandoned by her family, abandoned by her husband, you know.
You know what? Speaking of being abandoned by her husband, I was thinking, like, of all the situations, why didn't, if he wanted to go to California so bad, it was California he wanted to go.
Yes.
I don't know, when I said that, I doubted myself.
No, you're right. It was California.
He wanted to go so bad. Like, why didn't he go and, like, let them know he was leaving and say, I'll send back money? Like, why was it an abandonment?
Exactly. And actually, that's one of the questions. Scrappy. That's one of the questions I kind of had, was about, you know, like, why do you think, like, why would you think that he would have just, you know, left like that? You'd think that it would have made a difference if when he first asked that she would have went with him, or do you think that I feel like he just couldn't.
I think he was looking for an out.
He couldn't deal, and he couldn't hang, and it was an easy excuse, because, like, you're right. He could have still bailed and left a note that said, you know, I'll send money. I'm hoping to find better for us. He didn't. It was easier for him to, like, lone wolf it and just cut all ties and cut responsibilities.
I couldn't imagine.
And then also, I love, you know, she ends up with this family. They literally take her in as an unwed, you know, pregnant woman.
That was a completely unexpected turn.
Oh, yeah. I loved the growth and the love that grew from that situation. And those, you know, that surrogate family almost, those in-laws, became more of a family to her than she ever could have imagined.
Absolutely.
She actually found what love felt like through that.
Through not her own family, but somebody that she was taken in by. So, that's why she's mad. She's got hiccups.
Yeah. I do love that. Again, with the narration, that, you know, you go from they kind of jump a little bit. So, like, you go from Elsa has Loretta. And she has Loretta, and she's like, this is love. Finally, she's like, this is love. and she recognizes that, and she knows that, and then they speed up a little bit. They kind of like catch us up, like a montage kind of style-y. And then, you know, Loretta is older, and I just love that it goes from, you know, this was my baby that I cuddled and snuggled and wanted to be with me constantly, and now this child is like such disdain for me. Like, I am living that now.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I feel like I love the back and forth dialogue so much, because I feel like I've had some of these conversations, you know, and like I can see from both perspectives, and it honestly helped me kind of see a little bit, not that it was right, you know, some of her choices, but like see a little bit more from the child's perspective, but also knowing that, like, you know, the parent has like a more cautious, wants to be more cautious, has to be careful.
Not saying that like the kid, that Loretta's like actions were always right, but kind of getting the understanding behind it.
Oh yeah,
was enlightening,
right,
for sure.
So I just love that so much about
and kind of seeing that Loretta her intention was never to be vicious, or and it can feel that your kids are that way sometimes, that they're just grabbing for anything vicious, and it's not. It's their lack of communication skills and all these other things that they're going through.
She does, you know.
I was saying, in a couple parts, she does purposely lash out at her mom, though.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, yeah,
of course.
I guess, yeah, she
like
does.
To be mean, she says that certain things.
Yes, it's true. I also like, again, with the dynamic between the daughter and mother, that, you know, we do slowly see Loretta go from being a child, I'll say it starts off slow, but then very quickly she becomes a grown-up.
She steps up to the plate. She starts working.
A grown-up.
Insists on working.
How about the scene where they're camping for the night before they go through Mexico?
Oh,
New Mexico.
Oh, where they're...
And then she pulls the gun on the traveler.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
No.
And I couldn't imagine Elsa really doing the same in the same situation. So it was kind of interesting that she
it was
just
Loretta that
was
chose
able to do that. Yeah. Now, of course, you know, the whole time I was nervous if they would even make it to California. And then when they got there, it was so interesting to me to just read about, you know, here, the land of milk and honey, and then they get there and there's no work. Nobody wants them there. People are rude to them. People are treat them like animals.
Yeah, it kind of, like, when they talk about, like, immigration and all these kind of things, it, like, drew so many connections.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, wow. Like, people still treat people
this
like
is happening
terrible.
now.
Yeah.
Yes. And I like that you say that, because because those migrant workers and stuff, you know, they're just trying to, like, they're literally just struggling along, and it made me kind of think, like, these are American white folks that are having this, you know, horrible treatment. Imagine, because they don't really talk about colored folks much in this, or any people of color, really, aside from the fact that, of course,
they're Italian.
They're Italian, yes. Not Loretta, not Elsa though. She's not Italian, but her husband and their kids are half Italian. But like, that's really it. You don't really hear in the book at all about any people of color, and it made me think, wow, if it was this bad for white Caucasian Americans, how bad must it have been for people of color? Yeah. Because, I mean, tell you, some of the stuff, like, literally, like, scrubbing someone's house all day for, what was it, like 19 cents or something? 19 cents? I can't imagine.
No.
I can imagine that.
Even with, what is it called? Cost of living differences, and obviously, it was still nothing.
They're literally living in a ditch.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't. It's crazy. Also, I found it interesting, like, the parallels between, you know, when they start getting to the farms, and they get to the one, it's like, I'm going to say it wrong. It's like Welsh or something farm. Walker Farm, something like that. The big farm that they end up working for, where they're picking cotton. So like, they think, like, ooh, this is a good situation. Here we're going to get into this, this big farm, and they're gonna like give us a cabin, but then they start to very quickly realize that everything they're being charged for, everything is costing them. It's like they're working for these folks, but then they're paying for them for everything. Walter?
Welter or Walter? Yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
W something Farms.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really interesting.
And then the fact that she tried to pay her credit back with cash.
Oh, yeah.
And they wouldn't let her.
I know. Kind of is interesting. Makes you
made
think
her go into debt, basically.
like credit cards and stuff in this day and age. But also, you know, it really shows a divide to where there's it's people who have and people who have nothing, and very little in between. And these people that have are basically lording over these people that have nothing, because what else are they supposed to do? They're literally stuck.
They're at their mercy.
And to me, it just shows that, like, in a lot of ways, some things haven't changed a lot. Like now, maybe we don't have like farmers alliances keeping the migrant workers
it's
down.
Cleaned up, but the principle's
giant
still
corporations. You know, that are not really doing well by their people, right? So I thought that was interesting too. Like, it's like we've come so far, but in so many ways we're still the same. Like, they were basically indentured servants, and there was no way they could get out of it. They basically had those people as you know, indentured servants. That was crazy bonks to me. How about when they were getting help through the state, but like barely just, and then she like goes and she tries to get some of her state help, and they're like, well, if you were signed up for working on a farm, then you don't get assistance.
Yeah.
And that again reflected to me on, you know, government assistance in this country.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know a lot of people, there are a lot of people, you know, out in the world and on the internet that are very much like, you know, people on welfare or not hard workers or they're lazy. I'm telling you right now, to qualify for welfare is hard.
Yeah.
It is very hard. And I'm not saying people don't, like, you know.
It is abuse.
Abuse the system, but.
Not to the degree that people like to
like, these people are starving. Their babies were starving. Their babies were starving. Like, fine, like, we're grown folk, but, like, these are children.
Yeah.
These are children out in cotton fields picking cotton for 12-hour days.
How old is Anthony picking cotton? He's what?
He was still very young, like 6, 7.
Yeah.
I think it was 7, 8.
Yeah, because it progresses as the book.
Yeah.
The book goes, but like, that literally, like, Loretta, they got to a point where she didn't go to school. She's like, they had to pick cotton just to make it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I know they talked a little bit about in the book about it, but like, when you pick cotton, there are prongs. And so whenever you go, they scratch really bad. They like cut your hands all up. And so I've read other books where they've had to like, where like it was actually about, you know, slaves, and they had to like make salves and stuff for their hands, and that they would get like rough and calloused because they would just be scarred up. And imagine your baby is out there picking cotton in the hot heat for that long.
Yeah,
and they're barely eating. Like one of the things, it's like, Mom split a hot dog and put a little bit of beans on the stove, and I'm like, split a hot dog 3 ways.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
Split a hot dog 3 ways. Meanwhile, they're out in the blazing sun for 12-hour days.
Probably burning
25
not times the calories.
Eating
that
nothing
they're
hardly
eating.
at lunch, you know. I just can't imagine. Ugh.
Let's see, what else do I have? We don't over that. Getting toward the end. What did you guys think of her like her journal entry, Elsa's journal entry, where she's like declaring her love for Jack? I kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but I was almost disappointed by it.
That she found love in someone else. I don't know. I feel like
it felt rushed towards the end.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Did feel rushed towards the end. Also, it was kind of disheartening because it's like she waited all this time for someone, and like he right off the bat saw her.
She
saw
was
her.
beautiful and
he
she's
saw
strong.
past all
And,
the
what did he call
nothing
her? A
everyone
warrior,
else
or
saw.
did he call
A warrior?
Yeah, that's
I got more on that.
Yes. So, you know, I liked that she finally found love. It was sad for me that even though, you know, he was trying to to kind of pursue her, that she was like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah.
He's not really into me. You know, like,
Because
who
she
hasn't
didn't have
done
that. She didn't value herself.
Exactly. So I was happy to see her find love before the end. But yes,
I wish she would have found it in herself first.
Yes. Yeah, I get that.
But you know, I didn't write the book.
Right.
So
What do you guys feel about the? Oh,
We were doing so good.
how about the like positive connotations towards communism? That surprised me.
yeah and no. Yeah,
Did
a
it
little
surprise
bit.
you?
Yeah.
Because I thought, I didn't even think, first off, I wasn't even thinking communism whatsoever when I started reading this book.
No, that came out of left field, and you're like, oh,
And
well,
when
hello.
it did, I was like, oh, this is weird. How is
Yeah.
this going to fit into here? But I really liked that they pointed out more of like the positive like aspects of it. And I kind of liken it to, you know, any, like a political party. You know, it's easy to be
There's
like,
good and bad.
Republicans, meh, you know, or Democrats, meh. And, but it's not a black and white thing. And it was kind of nice to see communism in a book that takes place around, you know, so long ago, around when it was like Red Scare and all of that.
Yeah.
And to see like it be something that actually was helpful to the people.
Yeah.
You know? So I was very surprised in that.
That was my next question. What surprised you most in the book?
That was a big surprise for me. I really loved that, I mean, communism or not, I just love that they were, it could have been United Way for all I care. You know, like they were genuinely there, genuinely trying to make change and help the people. And of course the activist in me just thought little Loretta was like so brazen and so strong. And I guess I didn't expect for that to kind of like rub off on her mother. I really didn't see her, you know, joining in the fight. I really didn't see that coming.
Until it finally hit her enough to where when they kept lowering the prices, lowering pay, like it's not going to get better. It's just continuously getting worse. She had no choice.
Right.
Well, also having no choice was toward the end, where Loretta robs the store. I was
again, brazen little
like,
girl.
what happened?
Oh, what I loved
we jumped over a very important part before we got to that.
We'll come back. What I loved about when she robbed the store is, and I wish I wrote it down because it was, maybe I did. It was such a good, it was like such a good little quote, but essentially she robs the store and then she dresses like a boy. She like puts a hat on,
puts dirt on her face, a boy's sweater,
and then she leaves and she hides in plain sight with the women.
Yeah.
No one is going to suspect
I
us.
found that.
We're because
we're
her,
women.
Because to her she knew that these men in charge that saw these women as lesser than
and incapable of doing such a thing.
And I thought, what a smart girl. I couldn't believe that. I was very proud of her in that moment. I mean, I was terrified when she was doing it, when she had the gun, especially. I was like, oh my God. I was worried she was going to get busted and they were going to get her and like, oh, it was going to happen. But like, I was so proud of her in that.
Yeah. That was another moment that I was like, see, it all, I mean, not that I want my kid to go off like robbing stores, like, not like that, but like,
she did what she had to do.
She stepped up and she took care of what she had to do. But yes, because she was fed up. And what was the most surprising part to you?
The death.
Yeah.
That I was completely, like, left field, was not expecting her to get killed through it all.
Well, it's not usual that the main character is killed.
Yeah. Well, even when she was shot, I was like,
oh,
she's gonna be fine.
They got her to the hospital.
She's gonna be fine. When they were like all saying their goodbyes, I almost lost it.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you imagine? Almost. I guess that's good for them for closure, but almost I was like, oh no, that's too much. I think they should have just been like, and then she died, and then we moved on.
It made me think a lot, like when the time comes, like I don't want to know that I'm leaving my kids. Like, please just let me have no warning, go to sleep, never wake up. That's it. Like, I just want it to be nice and easy. I don't want to know what's coming and feel like I have to like hurry and finish preparing my kids. Like that's what you're doing your entire life anyway, is preparing your kids for life without you. But still, like it was just it made me. It was too much.
Yeah.
It was too real.
I did feel too, like, throughout the whole book, you know, she's just keeping her head down. She's just doing her work. She's just trying to
survive.
Keep things going, trying to survive. And it wasn't until that very end that she lived.
Yeah.
That she lived. And I feel like even, you know, when they are going through the death scene, she didn't seem scared. She seemed calm and she seemed peaceful.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's because she finally felt alive.
Yeah,
and I think loved for that matter.
Yeah, I think, that's probably like a big part of the book, is that, you know, you're not really living until like that disruption, that craziness, that everything, when nothing seems to be going right, like that's life.
Living.
Like that's living. So
it was such a good book. I really enjoyed it.
I did too, and I had to binge because I am terrible. Well, I'm not terrible. I'm busy, but I did it.
What about when her friend? First off, her friend loses the baby. That was hard enough.
Yep.
That was hard enough. Literally loses a baby, and then they have to, you know, to bury it in a freaking mud pit, basically, out in the middle
place.
of random nowhere. Like that was very hard for me. But then when the friend passes too, I thought that would be it for her. Like that
would be her breaking point.
Yeah, that's when she first starts.
That's
to, like,
when she's realizing
grab
and getting
hold
the anger is starting to really show in her.
Yeah,
like when she goes to the hospital and she's like, I forget what she does. She goes to the hospital to get treatment, but of course they deny her. But then she ends up getting like some aspirin or something.
They give her aspirin.
But I forget. Did she take the gun in there? She does something.
Yeah, she took the gun in there, and then the security was a Irish immigrant.
Yeah,
and he was like, "My wife and I have been in your shoes. Here's this aspirin. Go."
Gosh, that's crazy to me to think that, you know, they're several times in the book and they go to the hospital for help and they're getting nothing.
Turned down, yeah.
And I know that in some ways that, you know, depending on what you've got going on, that can still happen to you today.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to make a choice, you know, like, well, can I afford, you know, all the things I need, or can I just afford this one little bit? And then for the people that can't, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine, you know, knowing that all those people out there are dying, and then anytime they go to that hospital, they're turned away, and not only are they turned away, they're talked down to. They're made to be beneath them. They're totally prejudiced. Oh gosh,
it's gross.
I know, it's so awful.
I loved, my last note is that I love the journal entry that compares a work. You don't love. Oh. Well then.
He's doing so good.
But she compares a warrior to a mother.
Yes.
And one of the things that she says is fighting for those who can't fight for themselves. And I was like, if that's not, like, nothing is more true in the world. It resonated with me.
I really like that. After she passed, Jack stepped up and made sure the kids got what they needed to get, and then, like, you know, further on at the very end of the book, when Lorena is older, he checks in on them. Yes, I loved that. Now, all right, so when, you know, Elsa, she wants to hunker down, she wants to be on the farm with the fam. I get that. Perseverance.
Yes.
Man, perseverance.
She wants to be able to say, like, I made it.
Yeah, and those are her people. That's where she finally has connection.
Finally feels home.
Now, when Aunt gets sick, I can't imagine, you know, she, like, puts him in the wheelbarrow, and she's like walking him, running him.
Sand and topsoil.
All of it. And as a mother, that hit me hard. Like, what wouldn't you do for your kid, you know? And it just made me think, like, if something like that happened with your kid, and you were like, what home life was like, not so great right now, right? And you have no clue what the outside world has to offer you, what would you do? Would you have stayed? Would you have went? Now, of course, at that time, she still thought that her family was all coming with her, and then we find out that it's just her and the kids.
I think I would have had a much harder time leaving without the family.
Oh, yeah. I feel like had she known that they weren't going to go,
she never would have
that
planned
she
it.
probably would have stayed.
Yeah.
I feel like because they all but like...
But they knew what they were
jumped
doing.
in the car.
And making her... She was so committed at that point.
Yeah.
That she...
She had to, and for the life of her son.
She had to, but that's one of those things. It's like a really tough call, you know? Like, because who's to say you wouldn't think like, oh no, he'll be fine. We'll just keep his little gas mask on and keep him in the house. We'll take care of him and, you know, hope for the best. Because I'm sure that there were families that they couldn't. They... Imagine, like, they didn't, hardly any of them had anything. Even, you know, the Martinelli family, they hardly had anything.
Yeah. And
they still left, but there are other families that had even less than that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's, I don't know how they feel.
I probably eventually would have left like she did, but it would have had to been similar circumstances. I would have had to feel like
you have to go. Yeah, same.
Maybe that's why we're always so reluctant to leave for hurricanes too, though.
Because this is what we know.
It's true.
Well, I will say that I'm always the one that's ready to jump in the car and go.
Nah, I'm a honker downer.
No, I hate it. But my husband will never leave, so I'm left choosing between my kids or my husband.
You know, something we hadn't talked about that is another point in the book where you start to think like, yes, you're doing it. When there's the PTA at school and she like cleans up the best that she possibly can clean up, you know, and then she goes and she is just ostracized. She's shunned by all of those women and she's treated so terribly. And of course, you know, she's literally like starving. She's skin and bones, and they have all of this like, you know, the ladies have like prepared all of this like snacks and coffee and sandwiches and stuff for this meeting. They're pretend that they're not even going to have the meeting until she leaves, and so what does she do? She goes and she grabs the sandwiches. She starts filling her purse up with sandwiches, and then she looks back at the ladies and she says, "Don't worry, ladies. I'll bring a treat next time. I'm sure y'all will love squirrel soup." Or stew, sorry. And I thought, oh, yes, girl.
That was, a boss
I
move.
would have taken all those sandwiches, too. I'm not even kidding. We're like, oh, you're going to not let me in on this PTA meeting? I'm about to take all your sandwiches.
Yeah.
I thought that was so great. And I loved that not only did she take those sandwiches, she didn't just take them home to her family. She took them.
She spread the
and
love.
shared them.
And that they always did that, you
with
know?
that other family they got close to. Even if it was money, if it was food, they shared everything.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I did love that about her.
So, in this book, there were a few words and a few things that I was like, huh? What is that?
I had to do a couple of Google searches.
Can you remember any of the ones you Google searched?
No.
I wonder if we got some of the same ones or we got different
Probably.
ones.
I don't know.
All right. So one of the thing was arancini. So I never heard of it. It's a food, first off. It's an Italian food. I had to Google what is an arancini. Like, I'm probably saying it wrong. It's basically, it's like a rice ball that's stuffed with like cheese or meat, and then I think they fry it in a pan. It looks delicious. It looks like an Italian, like what are those, onigiri or onigori or something? There's like, those Japanese rice. And they have like a little pickled something on the inside or a little fish or something. Yeah. They look like that, but like an Italian version of that. So I thought that was really cool. I'm like, what are they eating? They're eating what?
Yeah.
Another thing I thought was kind of funny is in one of the sentences in the book, they talk about fecund earth. And I was like, fecund? What's a fecund? I had never heard of a fecund earth before. Fecund means fertile.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
You want to grab it?
Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Remember 6 minutes. She said, "I am too big for this nonsense now, Mom. I don't want to sit still."
so
we're almost done.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. If you pop a boob in there, will it help? That's fine.
Can you not?
Pacifier. If you want to take a pacifier, you gotta give her the nip. Ooh, boo-boos. It's okay. No fussing. We don't fuss. No way. Yeah, we don't fuss.
We happy.
Oh, we're recording this all.
That's okay.
What are you doing?
Oh, it's done.
Is it?
It is.
We're
You want her?
kind of paused.
Here you go.
She's getting.
Jeez, we got like 10, 15 minutes left.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good deal.
Okay.
Hang on, now I gotta put my boob back in.
Throw boob back in.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
Smash me with your boobs.
Ugh.
Put your boobs back in.
Not a whole
Okay.
lot.
Alright.
All right. Sorry,
Okay.
guys. It's gonna be one of those edited versions.
So anyhow, another something that I was like, what is that even? Is a box supper. Have you ever heard of that?
I just figured it was
A
some
box supper.
hamburger
yeah.
helper.
But this is the 30s. They didn't
Some
have
difference. That's
hamburger
what I just
helper.
assumed.
They had.
Yeah, you know, you're more inquisitive than I am because it didn't even click to me.
I was like,
It did.
what?
I just assumed it was.
They went to. It's something about they went to a church or something for a box supper, and I thought, what the heck is that? I wasn't
Oh.
sure. I googled it because I had to know. A box supper is a social gathering, like at a church or something, where usually the women have prepared meals, like meals to go kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they auction them off and they raise funds that way.
Okay.
And they call it a box supper. Which I've seen this in like TV before, where they've had like there was a town and they had a picnic day where they like had the women in the town make picnic baskets, and then you weren't really able to like see in the picnic baskets, but you got to bid on the picnic baskets, and then
Man, I'd be
you ended
ticked.
up going with that basket and that lady to picnic in the town's square kind of area. And it raised
Aw.
money for, I don't know,
I mean,
the
cute
town
idea,
or the
but
church or
what if you
whatever.
got something you didn't like? Meh.
Well, it's for charity.
It's like gambling almost, but
It's
for
for
charity.
That's why I don't gamble.
Imagine their town is kind of small, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
probably know what everyone is good at. Like,
Yeah, that's
They
true.
might be that one lady be like, "Oh, ain't nobody bidding on that box,"
Right.
Or like that lady makes the best cakes, so
Right.
let's bid on hers. So I just thought that was interesting, some like old school stuff. I really liked to. I mean, honestly, there wasn't a lot of like yummy food references. A lot of the Martinelli food references with like pancetta and polenta and stuff, those all were delicious sounding.
Yeah.
But when they, talk about the things that they were eating, like beanie weenies and hot dogs and just beans, straight beans, all the time beans, drinking hot water because they didn't have any food or tea
Yeah.
or coffee to just to put something in their bellies.
Yeah.
Like, was so hard.
Heart-wrenching.
When they went to the park and they got to have Coca-Colas, and I
Yeah.
thought, like, I imagined they're like, their old school, like, glass bottle
Yeah.
Cokes, It was just really interesting. There were some lovely visuals and some really good descriptives that were not the most pleasant visuals, but like
Right,
they
the
really,
storytelling was really very
really
good.
I would say overall, on a scale from 1 to 10, I would rate this book probably a 7, maybe an 8.
7.
I was gonna say a 7 too because it
Solid
was really
7,
really
maybe an
good,
8.
but it was a little hard to start. It was a
Yeah.
little slow going.
It didn't.
Yes.
The start
I agree.
didn't bother me. It was how quickly, like
The end.
the end,
abrupt.
just like there.
Yeah.
They
And I'm like,
tidied it nicely.
They did, but it just.
But it was
Very-
very abrupt.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that's part of it too. Like, the book was so beautifully written and descriptive that it really made you feel immersed, But then they're like, oh, and then this and this and this happened, and the end, done.
Yeah.
I agree. That's probably I would give it an 8, but
It's like when it was done, I was like, done? I'm not done. There's got to be more. Nope, there's not.
It ticked off a lot of my personal, like, favorite boxes. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, human rights.
Yeah.
Feminism. You know, I just love a good, like, story of hope. And honestly, that's one of the things that I had wrote on here. To sum everything up is, love is what remains. That's the direct quote. That's what she says at the end of the book. Like, that's it. You have nothing. When you have nothing, love is what remains. And to me, that's hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I love that. I love the hope and just the story of how, like, a mother finds her strength.
Yeah.
Whenever she's just faking it. And how often are you as a mother?
Oh, yeah.
Just completely faking it to
all
try
the time.
to... Yeah. It's just how it goes.
So this book had, it had a lot. It had, national crisis. It had classism. It had prejudice. It had sexism. It had wage gap issues.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, even though it was rushed, like, they packed a lot into this book, Yeah, overall I rated it a 7. So now that
That's funny, because we hadn't even talked about rating it.
No, I just came up with
We all just kind of came up with the same thing, for different reasons, but...
I know, I kind of thought we would get something a little varied, but I'm so glad, too, like, the first book that we picked ended up being something that we really, like, all
It was
liked.
good, yeah.
I was nervous, because it was a newer book.
Mm-hmm.
We hope you guys enjoyed it, too.
And it was
does anyone
fun.
have anything else to say about this book before we move on to announcing our next book?
Let's talk about our next book.
Alright, so I kind of jumped the gun and didn't even talk about it and picked up our next book.
So Heather's pick this month, this 2 months.
Yeah.
2?
It's 2. We actually...
We're going to call it a cycle. This cycle.
Okay.
Yes, this cycle.
Alright, so this is The Madonna of the Mountains.
Nice.
And do you want me to read well, it's kind of a lot. It kind
Read
of
the
goes
back.
to...
What is, like, the gist?
Just read
Like,
the back.
what?
It says, an epic and inspiring novel about one woman's survival in the hard-scrabble Italian countryside and her determination to protect her family throughout the Second World War by any means possible. So it kind of...
It sounds similar.
Real similar to... I didn't mean...
It's like a...
Like I said, I'm into history, so I kind of jump.
Yeah.
It is right after. I didn't even think about that. But at least this one is in Italy.
All right,
I love Italy.
It's funny too because we went from Italian families.
Oh yeah. Well, we're still with the Italian family.
I have a
just
feeling
different country
you had this other book on your mind when you picked this one up.
I did. But it's not as thick as our last one.
Okay.
So I'll probably finish it really quickly
I know.
again.
I was thinking the same.
Yeah.
Which I have not opened this book because I knew if I started it, I'd jumble them and.
Yeah, you can't be jumbling.
No.
I'm saving mine
so
for
I
this
really
trip
have to
coming
wait.
up.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yes.
You're not going to have any time.
I will on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
Will
Yeah,
you
plenty
tell
of
us
time.
one more time what is the name of the book and the author's name?
The Madonna of the Mountains, and is by Elise, right?
Elise?
Elise.
Valmorbida.
What she said.
I'm sure it's not said that way by any means, but you can Google.
And our next book club review, and of course we'll remind you along the way, because honestly, I need a little reminder so I can keep accountable. But it'll be around March 31st or the 1st of April, depending.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, it won't.
Sorry, May. Of May. Sorry.
May to June. Late May, early June.
Yes. Late May, early June. It'll be either May 31st or June 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Because the June 1st is a Tuesday.
I like this because it like pushes me to read whenever normally it's one of the things, and it's very much like a self-care thing for me. Because it's time that I'm just not doing something for somebody else, and that's just enough to be self-care for me. That it's really good.
And your brain is kind of like,
it helps with the anxiety.
Women, it's like boom, boom, boom. There's like 10 things going on in my head at any given time, sometimes worse, you know? So it's like you're focusing in on that story, and it gives your brain a little breathing room, you know? Like, being able to focus in on one thing is, gives the rest of your thought process a little bit of a break. So we hope you'll join us, and we hope you enjoyed this book. I guess we need to go over triumphs of the week. Okay,
Same
I'll go.
I don't have nothing.
We're going to Vegas, baby.
Yes.
So, this following weekend, a very good friend of ours is getting married, and we are going to, what do you call it when you do a wedding somewhere else?
A destination.
A destination wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, they're not eloping.
No, they're not eloping, yeah.
The plan was they were going to elope, but now they're not. So, we get to go and have a destination wedding, but quaint. In Vegas, and I've never been. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so excited
We've
for
got a
you.
couple shows booked, you know. Got the hand sanitizer on lockdown. Got a couple sparkly face masks so I can be extra, well, in some place that's extra, you know. And I'm excited. So, shout out to Botanically Building. We love you, girl. Happy nuptials.
You got one?
I got nothing. Like I said, it was just a normal, nothing exciting going. Ow, sorry.
No kid win.
Oh, y'all heard that pop?
Yes.
That hurt. No, nothing.
Well,
No
but
news
nothing
is good
bad
news?
happened.
Nothing bad,
No news
nothing
is good
great,
news.
just a regular old week.
Yeah. All right.
And mine, I don't know if I've talked about it yet, but we decided we're gonna build a house.
Yes.
So
Super exciting.
It's a lot.
Terrifying, but it's exciting too. So that's like our newest adventure, as if I don't have enough going on right now. But it's really exciting too, because I don't really know why, but I thought, like, you buy a house. It never occurred to me that I'd be able to be like, no, I want these countertops, and I want this, and I want this. Like, so
It's almost too many decisions.
Yeah.
yeah.
You'll see. It'll be like down to the knobs, and you'll be like, I don't care. Knobs.
Just
Right,
throw some
yeah.
doorknobs
Or maybe
and
you
kitchen
will.
cabinet, I don't-
I'm more of the kind of person that's like, it's too many. You give me too many choices. Just put some knobs
Yeah.
on it.
So it's
make it look
it's
straight.
gonna
I'm
be a
good.
long,
Yeah.
long process.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have some weird recording areas. We might be changing that up a little bit because turns out you have to sell a house to build a house. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have all kinds of changes, but we'll keep it as streamlined as possible.
It'll look just like this. They won't even notice it's in a different spot.
That's true.
Probably.
We can probably do that.
Anyhow,
All right.
we appreciate ya. Don't forget to say hello. Leave us a comment. How did you like the book? In the comments below. And don't forget that you can email us at 3sisters1heartpodcast@gmail.com, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at 3sisters1heart. Not email. 3 Sisters 1 Heart podcast, and you can find us on Spotify, Libsyn, and iTunes, and Podcorn.
Popcorn, yeah.